Have you ever had a secret dream? A talent you practiced only in private, afraid others might not understand or appreciate it. This is the story of Jessica Parker, a woman whose hidden gift remained secret until one fateful afternoon when courage found her. By day, Jessica was nearly invisible, a quiet, unassuming housekeeper at Chicago's prestigious Skyline Suites hotel. At 28, she moved through the luxurious hallways with practiced efficiency, head down, shoulders slightly hunched. To the wealthy guests and even to most staff members, she was simply part of the background, reliable, efficient, but ultimately forgettable. But behind Jessica's humble exterior lived a mind that traveled thousands of miles. What nobody knew was that for 3 years, she had secretly mastered one of the world's most difficult languages, Mandarin Chinese. It began after her mother's passing, a tribute to the woman who had always dreamed of traveling but never got the chance. Night after night, in her small apartment, Jessica transformed herself into a skilled linguist through apps, online forums, and relentless practice. At work, only one person sensed there was more to Jessica than met the eye. Henry, a 67-year-old security guard with kind eyes and weathered hands, often found her practicing characters during her breaks. "You've got gold inside you, kid," he'd tell her. "But you're walking around like you're made of dirt. The world won't see what you don't show it." Jessica would always dismiss his words, hiding her notebook. "It's just a hobby, Henry," she'd say, never believing her secret passion could amount to anything more. Everything changed during the Miles Industries conference. The hotel buzzed with important executives from around the world, including the company's legendary CEO, Adrian Miles himself. Jessica had been assigned to clean the upper floors where the Chinese delegation was staying, a deliberate move by her manager, Chloe, who thought her too awkward to interact with American executives. While cleaning the executive lounge, Jessica heard a distressed voice. Through the slightly open door, she saw Adrian Miles pacing, his suit jacket discarded, running a hand through his hair as he spoke urgently into his phone. "I'm losing the most important contract of the quarter because no one here speaks Mandarin," he exclaimed to someone on the other end. "Is there anyone who can translate? This is ridiculous." Jessica froze, her cleaning cloth suspended in midair. Her mind raced. She could help. She understood every word of the complicated business discussion happening on that phone call. But approaching a powerful CEO? Drawing attention to herself? The thought made her palms sweat. What if she made a mistake? What if her pronunciation wasn't perfect? What if he laughed at the presumption of a housekeeper offering to translate? She actually turned to leave, ready to disappear down the service hallway as she had thousands of times before. But as she retreated, she caught her reflection in the polished elevator doors, a small, hunched figure, fading into the background. In that moment, she saw her mother's face, filled with dreams never pursued, and heard Henry's voice echoing in her mind. "The things you're best at might never be seen, but don't let them die in silence." Before she could reconsider, Jessica turned back. Her feet carried her forward as if guided by a will stronger than her fear. She pushed the door open slightly. "Excuse me, Mr. Miles," she said, her voice barely audible. He didn't hear her. She cleared her throat and tried again, louder this time. "Excuse me, I speak Chinese. I could help if you want." Adrian Miles turned, surprise evident on his face as he took in her uniform and cleaning cart visible behind her. For a heartbeat, Jessica thought he might dismiss her. But desperation won over skepticism. "You speak Mandarin?" he asked uncertainly. When she nodded, he handed her the phone. "It's on speaker. The CEO is calling from Shanghai. We're discussing final terms, but something's been lost in translation." Jessica's hands trembled as she took the phone. But when she began speaking Mandarin, something remarkable happened. Her voice grew stronger, confident, the tones flowing naturally as she introduced herself and explained the situation. For 15 minutes, she seamlessly translated complex business terms between Adrian and Mr. Yun, the Chinese CEO. She clarified misunderstandings, eased tensions, and even elicited laughter as she properly explained cultural nuances. When the call concluded successfully, Jessica handed back the phone, suddenly aware of what she'd done. She had stepped out of the shadows and made herself visible. "I should get back to work," she said quickly, retreating before Adrian could say more. "Wait," he called after her, but she was already hurrying down the service stairs, her face burning with equal parts exhilaration and terror. For the rest of her shift, Jessica alternated between pride and anxiety. She had been more than invisible, she had been valuable, capable, needed. But she assumed tomorrow would bring a return to normalcy. She couldn't have been more wrong. The next morning, everything seemed normal until Jessica was summoned to the conference room. There stood Adrian Miles with the hotel managers and a visibly uncomfortable Chloe. "I had an interesting experience yesterday," Adrian announced. "One of your employees saved a multi-million-dollar deal through extraordinary linguistic skill." All eyes turned to Jessica as Adrian asked her to demonstrate her abilities again. Though terrified of being put on display, Jessica remembered those 15 minutes of being seen. When Adrian spoke sentences about business expansion, she translated them flawlessly into fluent Mandarin. The room's skepticism transformed to astonishment. "Why haven't you pursued this professionally?" Adrian asked. "With your skill, you could be working as a translator." The question hung heavily in the air. "I never thought I was good enough," Jessica admitted, the truth painful in its simplicity. "I didn't have credentials or connections." Adrian nodded as if reaching a decision. "I'd like to offer you a position at Miles Industries initially as a cultural liaison for our Shanghai negotiations, with potential for a permanent role." The room seemed to tilt. Chloe immediately protested, suggesting someone more suitable would be better. But Adrian countered firmly. "Yesterday, when help was needed, Jessica was the only person who combined ability with initiative. That's exactly who I want representing my company." Jessica stood at the crossroads of her life. Before her stretched two paths, the familiar road of invisibility, and the terrifying unknown of stepping into her potential. She thought of her mother's unfulfilled dreams, of Henry's advice, of the person she'd glimpsed in the mirror. "I don't need time," she said, her voice steadier than she felt. "I would be honored to accept your offer." The following weeks were a blur of training, passport processing, and crash courses in corporate protocol. Jessica worked closely with Adrian's chief of staff, Miranda, who noted she learned faster than most MBAs. "It's like you've been preparing for this your whole life," Miranda observed. And perhaps she had. In Shanghai, Jessica's knowledge proved invaluable. She became more than a translator, she was a cultural bridge, explaining nuances no app could capture. Even when Chloe arrived as a hotel liaison and tried to undermine her, Jessica stood firm. Mr. Jung himself sought her perspective, impressed by her understanding. That night, Adrian toasted to new beginnings and seeing the extraordinary in plain sight. 1 year later, Jessica stood at a podium in the Skyline Suites ballroom, the very hotel where she once cleaned rooms. Now the director of Asian market development, she addressed a crowd that included a proud Adrian Miles and a beaming Henry. "Transformation isn't always about becoming someone new," she said confidently. "Sometimes it's about finally becoming who you already are." She spoke of courage not being the absence of fear, but moving forward despite it. She thanked Henry for his wisdom and acknowledged her mother's inspiration. After her speech, a young housekeeper approached shyly. "Your story really spoke to me," she said. Jessica took her hand warmly. "Whatever dream you're carrying, don't let go of it. It matters." As Jessica looked out at the Chicago skyline that night, she understood her journey wasn't just about titles or achievements. It was about visibility of self, of others. The courage to be fully seen and to see others fully. The most powerful gift we offer isn't our success, but our authentic selves. If Jessica's journey stirred something in you, an untold dream, a quiet voice, a hidden gift, don't let it stay buried. Your voice matters. Your dreams matter. And the world is waiting for the unique contributions only you can make. If this story inspired you to embrace your hidden talents, show some love, hit that like button, share this with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more stories about ordinary people discovering their extraordinary potential. Your support helps us bring more uplifting content your way.